Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 516 to 517 for the 24th to 25th of July for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. And yeah, very special. This special military operation, so long, man. So let's start off with major news. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, the Ukrainian forces have new breakthroughs over in the southeastern part of Robotyne. We have Ukrainian forces attacking, having this salient based on information from the Russian side, the Ryba. The Russian sources reported that Ukrainians have attacked. They have not captured yet, but they have attacked all the way until this point across the entire trench line in the northeastern part of Robotyne. The attack also comes on the eastern part of Robotyne and in the north. The situation continues to be very tense as the Russian forces continue to take on this Ukrainian assault with artillery and whatnot. So the Ukrainians sent in a lot of armor, and so it does seems like the Ukrainians seems to have more well secured supply line as they travel all the way to Robotyne and to do this offensive, which means the Russians have lost control of certain parts because they previously have tried to raid all these lines and replant all the mines, and it looks like the Ukrainians start to have this momentum building up around this area here. Information in the northern part, on the 24th, the Russians had said that the Ukrainians attacked close to Robotyne, and then on the northeastern part, it was reported by Surya Maps and then by Deep State UA. So they all both reported there's some progress by the Ukrainians on the 24th, and on the 25th, Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that the Ukrainians have advanced in the northeast, despite suffering significant losses according to the pro-Russians. And in the latest information that comes out today, so this mapping, this salient that the Ukrainians have managed to break through comes in today's information on the 26th, as this is SITREP for the 24th and 25th. They say that the 33rd Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, after artillery bombardment and rocket artillery, tried to break through the northeast of Robotyne. The attack seems to have more than 80 vehicles, including tanks, IFV, APCs, and AFVs. So they managed to break through in 3 different areas, and the fierce fighting is still ongoing currently as we speak. So the attack, as per the arrow, is actually in these 3 areas. Basically, they are attacking on the entire trench line that was part of this first line of defense. Of course, the first line of defense is not just one trench line, it's actually multiple things, including there's an entrenchment around here, there's another one here, another one here, another one here. So this is just one of the defense line that was being attacked right now, and it looks like 80 vehicles. It seems like a really big assault. So the Ukrainians are really want to at all costs capture this area here. So this is Robotyne. So while this is happening, reinforcement was also reported at below here, yeah. And this is reported by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, and they in the same report also mentioned reinforcement over at Lubkove. And so this is part of the Kayamsky sector, and this might be a precursor to additional offensive from the Ukrainian side. So as they try to double down on the so-called alleged poor performance of the counter-offensive, and they try to change perception probably on the PR side, as even Western media start to question the effectiveness or the success of this counter-offensive. And I would say there is actually progress for the Ukrainians. It's not a failure. It's not 100% failure, but it is quite a failure when you look at the prime objective of where they want to go. But when you look at the grand scale of the progress on both sides, the Russians and the Ukrainian sides, the Ukrainians actually still managed to have a lot more progress than the Russians over the past 2 months. There's also fighting reported at Kayamsky on the 24th. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, there are some probings, and Deep State UA says that the Ukrainians have some success. So, based on pro-Ukrainian sources, they say that the Kayamsky currently is cut into half, with the Ukrainian forces managed to attack and try to, capture more. But largely, this area here is all heavily entrenched. I don't see the Ukrainians breaking through just anytime yet. And over at the Huaypole sector, we have some probing attack over at Zaporizhzhia on the 25th of July, reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And over at Pryyutne, there on the 24th, there was also some probing attacks over this area here, with the recon trying to figure out where's the Russian forces, or they're just trying to probe the line to keep the Russians on their toes. So that's all from the Huaypole sector. Moving into the Velika Novosilka sector, this is Velika Novosilka. The Ukrainian forces continue their attack against Robotyne and Staromayoske, and there is also fighting reported on the western part of Staromayoske. The fighting was reported on the 24th by Deep State UA. Simply a 5-word sentence: there are battles at Staromayoske, and that's it. That's all we got for the 24th of July. And on the 25th, Rybas reported that the Ukrainians tried to break through to Staromayoske and Robotyne, which is the other icon over here, did not work out. It seems like the fighting here has toned down by quite a bit, to the point where they don't even bother to write proper sentences or paragraph or reports about what is actually happening. Until today, in the latest information on the 26th of July, which is currently as per this recording, the 11 a.m. report by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that the 36th Brigade assault detachments, tried to attack Russian positions west of the village. Did not work out, and the Russians launched a counter attack after the attack to push the Ukrainians back. So the Russians actually have some kind of a defense line, probably around on the western part of Staromayoske. The Ukrainian forces tried to attack the western part, and then did not work out, and then the Russians counterattack to push the Ukrainians back to their original line. And that's basically it. So far, it's not exactly the kind of offensive that we have been seeing, getting used to seeing at this part of the world, or this part of the Ukraine, because it's starting to become some kind of stalemate at this region. There is some counterattack or some offensive operations by the Russians reported at Rivnopil, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 24th of July, which take it with a pinch of salt. And then over at Pryyutne, the latest information over here, based on Ukrainian mapping, is that the Ukrainian forces actually managed to capture all the way to the northern outskirts of Pryyutne. So over the past don't know how many days, the Ukrainians actually managed to make progress and managed to go all the way to the edge of Pryyutne. And in the latest information from Ryba in yesterday's report, they said that the Russians launched counterattacks against the Ukrainian positions. We are not sure exactly where this counterattack are happening. Probably in the northern part, because they want to get more buffer zone around Pryyutne. So this is quite a significant information as well in the progress. So while the attention on the pro-Russian side, or even the pro-Ukrainian side, seems to be largely on this Kupyansk region, at the Svatove Front, where the Russians have a major salient west of Kreminna. The reality is that the Ukrainians have their own advances and progress over in the other parts of the front line, particularly over here in the Zaporizhzhia Front, as well as the Bakhmut Front. And there's a Ukrainian Mi-24 Hind getting shot down over Novodarivka, which is an attack helicopter, which can also transport some troops. And we're talking about Bakhmut, so let's go to Bakhmut. At the Bakhmut Front, this is Bakhmut City. And in the southern flank of the Bakhmut Front, we have major fighting over this region here. There is fighting reported towards Zaitsev, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, with the Ukrainians attacking in this direction, just north of Mayos. And over at Andriivka region, rather, in the Andriivka region, this is Andriivka. The situation here is very critical for the Russians. There is fighting reported on the northwestern part of Kupyansk on the 24th, and also at Andriivka itself, with the Ukrainians making a major progress around here, all the way to the outskirts of Andriivka, and they are currently continuing to be pushing towards Zelenopilia and try to capture Andriivka. There's no information about Ukrainians entering Andriivka just yet, but given the front line is actually so close, it is not a surprise if the Ukrainians are fighting within the small little village. And I can see the village is very small. And over at the Klishchiivka region, where the major attention of the, I would guess, the pro-Ukrainian sides will be, because the fighting is currently within Klishchiivka itself. There is geolocation of Russian forces over at this position on the 24th of July. It's not sure if today they are still over there. There is also fighting reported on the south on the 24th. Information by Surya Maps and Deep State UA. And then Ryba then reported that the fighting is on yesterday is on the southwestern part of Klishchiivka. And the Ukrainian forces attacked after major bombardments. Very reminiscent of World War I tactics, because World War I they usually have heavy bombardments before the infantry will rush, and given what we understood, there is no human waves, but the Ukrainians do send infantries largely with fire support from armored vehicles behind. They're not really advancing together with the infantry, given the danger of anti-tank guided missiles. And then over at the northern part of Klishchiivka, Russian Defense Ministry simply reported there is fighting on the 24th and on the 25th, which I presume the fighting is in the northern part of Klishchiivka. There's probably fighting inside in the western part of Klishchiivka. We don't really have much info. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians attacked, and they managed to repel the attack on the western part of Klishchiivka. So this is not so surprising because on the west, the Russians attacking westward. Okay, that's not too bad. Then come a series of ridiculous reports from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry that made zero sense. So let's go through them. We have fighting reported east of Stupozhki, and then there is fighting south of Ivaniske. There is fighting near Dilievka. As you can see on the map, it makes zero sense where the front line they are referring to, because, like for example, east of Stupozhki, you might as well just say north of Klishchiivka. If it's south of Ivaniske, you can simply just say southwest of Bakhmut, which is also inaccurate, or you just say Klishchiivka. So the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is making a lot of effort to hide the actual situation by naming ridiculous places that have zero sense. I'm not sure. Maybe they read the map like this. It's like, oh yeah, this is Dilievka. Yeah, this is Stupozhki. Obviously, they cannot tell. You have to zoom in, right? Common sense, right? So, yeah, instead of fighting reported at Kupyansk, they say, near Dilievka. So, I'm not sure. The person need to change his computer. And there is also further fighting. For example, being reported in the northern flank, northwest of Orikhovo-Vasilivka. Northwest. I'm not joking. They wrote northwest. Where is northwest? Northwest is Minkivka. The front line is not even there. The front line is over here. This is the front line. How can it be northwest of Orikhovo-Vasilivka? And this is much worse, because it's impossible to be the northwest of Orikhovo-Vasilivka. So I'm not sure who the hell is doing this report for this particular day and the next day, 24th and 25th. But the Ukrainian Defense Ministry need to sack this person, because what the hell, man. So this is why you need to map, because if you don't map, all these locations makes zero sense. So once you map it, then it's like, oh, they just writing nonsense. There is no fighting being reported at Bakhmut and Yakhitne region, surprisingly, and there is also no fighting being reported along the highway where the Ukrainians previously was attacking and the Russians were trying to counterattack. However, we do have geolocation of Russian forces over at this location, which do suggest that the Russians do have some positions along this vegetation, forested region, at least in this area here, that is guarding the positions along the E40 highway. And there's nothing over within Bakhmut itself. The Ukrainians are not trying to storm into Bakhmut, which is 0 sense to do it. This kind of thing only Wagner will do it, because 0 sense. And so that's all from the Bakhmut front. There is a Russian Ka-52 getting shot down over Ukraine. Is reported in this morning's report. It's not sure where the Ka-52 was shot down. They did not mention. I didn't see this report on the Ukrainian Air Force Telegram channel though. And there was also, over at the Dachi region, amphibious operations being reported by the Russian Defense Ministries. The Dnipro group of forces reported this. They said that the Ukrainians tried to land forces, and Ryba actually expanded on it with more intel, saying that this attack is actually on the 24th at 4 p.m. There is 3 boats with commandos trying to land on this island where Dachi is, but they were discovered and they were shot by MLRS, which is probably Grab. And at least 1 boat was destroyed, 2 other managed to RTB. So the Ukrainians continue to try to land forces here. There is also this viral video of allegedly Ukrainian soldiers that was currently deployed at this area here, asking for some kind of assistance or to stop sending troops over to this position, because they felt that this is kind of pointless, which is something I echo, but I cannot verify if this video is legitimate or is just fake news. There is also over the Black Sea, far away. As you can see, this is this far away, 370 kilometers southwest of Sevastopol, very far away, just off Istanbul. A patrol ship, Sergei Kotov of the Russian Navy, the Black Sea Fleet, was attacked by 2 unmanned surface speedboat, which is probably suicide surface drones. And however, the drones did not manage to get close to the ship before they were destroyed. So the fighting was actually happening around here. So quite major, because I would say this is quite a distance to actually launch any attack. And there are also a lot of talk on the pro-Russian side, talking about whether if this is if the drones are actually even launched from Ukraine itself, or is it actually launched from Turkey or Romania, or some other so-called friendly states, or could it be from container ships that is allegedly transporting cargo, and then they secretly launch suicide drones? It's unclear. So moving on to the other major front lines is of course the salient over at the Svatove Front. So at the Svatove Front, the Russian forces will discontinue their push over at Novoyehorovka, and the Ukrainian forces actually counterattack. They tried to counterattack to stop the Russians' progress, and then while this is happening, the Russians were attacking Nadia and Serhiivka, and apparently this attack succeeded. Serhiivka fell, Nadia fell, and there is also confirmation from the Ukrainian side that the previous rumor of Novoyehorovka falling to the Russians is also then confirmed. The Russians also managed to progress way further than I expected, and the salient is even deeper than the ones over at the western part of Kreminna. But it could be also because where the starting point is, because as you can see, the starting point is a lot nearer. It's not a lot more westward. The depth is also actually just simply 5 kilometers, but on the map it just looked much deeper. It's like a dinosaur. It's like this is like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. With the eyes. Like, wee. Okay, sorry, distracted. There is also fighting reported in Novovodyane, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 25th. The Ukrainians may be trying to attack this area here to draw Russian forces attention away from their offensive. And the counterattack happens on 24th. They were trying to attack, and then fighting was also reported in Novoyehorovka, according to SITREP maps. Deep State UA say that the Russian forces were reinforcing to try to make further pushes in this area here, but the Russian forces did not make progress over this area here on the 24th. Rybar on the 24th actually held reservation about the status, because pro-Russian sources, many of them actually claim that Novoyehovivka has been captured by the Russian forces, but Rybar say that there is actually no confirmation of such information, and they urge other pro-Russian sources not to claim victories too early, as per the case with Novoselivsky. So they, in terms of Rybar's position, is still in the gray zone and on the 24th of July. But as per on the 25th, Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source on their mapping as in their report, confirmed that the Russian forces have captured Novoyehovivka along with Nadia and Serhievka on the 25th of July. And this actually comes in a situation where the Ukrainian side actually withdraw chaotically due to the fear of encirclement. For what of course we do not have clear details on how they felt that they might be encircled, because it looks like a Russian flat push rather than some kind of like a pincer movement of sort. But as you are on the ground, you do not know what is happening even just 200 meters from you, so maybe there's some panic that settled in. Maybe they are looking at Telegram channels and whatnot, and they just panicked. As per Rybar, they reported on the 25th of July, saying that there is still fighting at Novoyehovivka. So in terms of Rybar's position, this pro-Russian source position, Novoyehovivka is still not captured. But because the pro-Ukrainian source actually considered it, I believe that is more accurate than what Rybar position is. So because the Ukrainians already considered it, so it must be the Russian capture. There is also rumors of Ukrainian withdrawal over at Sverdlovy. I tried to learn how to pronounce this word, Sverdlovy, and you can try how to pronounce it. I'm sure you will struggle to pronounce it. Sverdlovy. So according to Remelin, the pro-Russian source, they say that I will put this as a rumor, because currently Remelin's information has been downgraded to a point of not exactly source, but it's more like partial source. Is still a primary source for me, but his information I have to put it as a rumor. So because there are previous instances where his information did not check out, which is why I have to downgrade the information. But the latest rumor is that the Ukrainian forces have abandoned Sverdlovy, and the Russian forces allegedly have entered and continue to advance westward. So which means the Russian forces have entered as the Ukrainians withdraw from this position, and the Russian forces continue to progress westward. Yeah, that could be what's happening, but rumors. So further up north, we have the confirmation of the capture of Serhievka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So the Russian Defense Ministry actually officially confirmed the capture of Serhievka. So they highlighted the skillful command of the Lieutenant Colonel Bilov and of the 15th Motorized Rifle Brigade, and they managed to capture up to 4 kilometers along the fronts to 2 kilometers deep. 2 kilometers deep, but the Ukrainian sources actually map it all the way to 4 kilometers, because if 2 kilometers deep, it is probably around here, but Rybar actually, Deep State UA actually mapped all the way to 5 kilometers deep. So quite a big difference. Maybe we'll see more reports coming from the noon report from the Russian Defense Ministry later to acknowledge this advance. Which is probably happening while I'm doing this recording, but it's too bad. I'm recording already. So Deep State UA reported the capture of these 3 towns, which I already mentioned. So there is fighting reported here according to Rybar. They acknowledge that there are some reports about Ukrainians withdrawing from Nadia, and the Russians are moving in, but they have not acknowledged that this is the reality yet. They just saying that other sources are reporting this. So so Russian forces making this massive push, and they are now just 2 kilometers away from this major road, very important road that actually helps with Ukrainian resupply and communications. So that's all from the Svatove Front. Moving on in the Kupyansk Front, actually no, we have the northern part of Svatove Front. In the northern part of Svatove Front, we have some fighting reported at Novosibirsk on the 24th, inside Novosibirsk and on the south of Novosibirsk. The information coming from Deep State UA, and there's nothing much to talk about. They just say that there is some fighting over this region. It was not reported on the 25th though. Then moving into the Kupyansk Front, we have fighting reported at Pryyutne, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Take this series of reports with a pinch of salt because of the way how they write it. I have to put it as attack, but I think it might just be shelling or just positional warfare or just probing attacks. So because they use the word active actions by units of the Zapad group of forces, so I have to put it as an attack. There's also this series of reports talk about fighting at Pryyutne, Avdiivka, and over at the south of Vyshana, near Petropavlivka. Petropavlivka is actually here, so it's actually quite a distance from the front line, so that's why I say that it might be just shelling reports. And we also have fighting reported at Klishchiivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry and Surya maps. So this fighting is on the 24th. On the 24th, the Ryba actually reported that it's the Ukrainians that launched a counterattack over at the Liman-Pershi region, where the Ukrainians try to push back the Russian forces in this area here. This comes after Ukrainian reinforcement coming to around this region, and we have further reinforcement being reported at Kupyansk, with artillery batteries moving into Kupyansk and surrounding regions. And there is reinforcement also reported at Zaporizhzhia on the 24th, which are the assault infantry groups, I think, or detachments. Yeah, they didn't mention exactly what came to Zaporizhzhia. And then somehow there is also fighting reported at Zaporizhzhia, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So that's why I say this might actually just be shelling report, and it could be the Ukrainians send reinforcement to Zaporizhzhia and the Russians just shell them. That might be just what is happening. So that's all from the Kupyansk Front. Moving into the Kreminna Front, at the Kreminna Front, the Ukrainian forces launched a major counter-offensive or probing actions along the entire front line, while the Russians focusing mainly over at the Siversk forestry. There is fighting reported at Nevsky, according to Russian Defense Ministry, Deep State UA, and Ryba. They say that the Ukrainians counterattack over this area here, and this fighting continues onto the 25th, with the Russian Defense Ministry continuing to report that the Ukrainian forces are attacking in this area here. There is also fighting reported near Chervono-Popivka, according to Russian Defense Ministry. It seems like a major assault as well. This attack is in the same report. They also mentioned about the Ukrainian counterattack within the Siversk forestry. And there is fighting reported near Terny. It's a probing force, sabotage group. And on the 25th, the Russian Defense Ministry also reported that the Ukrainians attacked near Toske, over this region here. So there is this fighting coming ongoing from the Ukrainian side, trying to push. Reinforcement is reported at Terny on the 24th and Toske on the 24th. So that could also explain why there was an attack on the 25th, because the reinforcement has came on the 24th, so they managed to launch an attack over this area here. Within the Siversk forestry, we do have Russians attacking south of Dibrova, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The Russians allegedly attacking southwards. And within the Siversk forestry also, on the 25th, the Russian Defense Ministry claimed that the Guards Colonel Vasiliev managed to lead his airborne assault units to attack on Ukrainian forces and managed to progress 1.5 kilometers deep of whatever location this is. I have no idea. However, the Russian Defense Ministry also reported that the Ukrainians actually launched counterattack within the Siversk forestry itself, and so it could be both ways. It could be the attacking in different directions, because this is a pretty big forest. Over at the Siversk Front, just south of it, we have the Ukrainians continue to be attacking over at the Bilohorivka region. Information coming from the Russian Defense Ministry on the 24th and on the 25th. We do not have much in details about these things. They only say that the Ukrainians are attacking. Where, what are they doing, towards which direction, we have no idea. And that's all from the Siversk Front. Moving into the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the situation here becomes really quiet. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 25th continued to report Russian attacks in the area of Avdiivka. We have no idea where it is. Usually it's coming from the east of Avdiivka. Usually it's the east. And over at the Pervomaysk region, there is fighting reported on the 24th. Ukraine say that the Russians attacked on the 24th. And on the 25th, Russia say the Ukrainians attacked. And which might actually be just them clashing into each other on the 24th of July. That's all from the Avdiivka Front. Moving into the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, we have Russian attacks over at Krasnohorivka on the 24th, and also at Marinka on the 24th, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And on the 25th, we have Ukrainian Defense Ministry continue to say that the Russians are attacking near the city of Marinka, whereas the Russians say that the Ukrainians are attacking. So, pretty typical traditional cultural thingy that they always do. Is like breathing and drinking water. Talking about that, I'm really thirsty after talking straight for 31 minutes. And over in the south of Novomihailivka, this is the first time in a long time we actually have a direction of fighting in the area of Novomihailivka. So according to the Vostok group of forces, they say that the Ukrainians attack with 2 infantry groups south of Novomihailivka with artillery support. Artillery support is actually on the Russian side. So the Ukrainians actually attacked southwards from Novomihailivka, and then they got shelled, with the Russians managed to hold the lines against the Ukrainian assault. So that's all from this region here. There is a attempted assault towards Mykolaiv, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. However, they did not manage to even get to the Russian lines. As the Ukrainians tried to progress, they got spotted and they got shot by Russian artillery, and the attack is abandoned just off Voleda. So that's all from the Donetsk Front, and I believe I covered everything. So yeah, so this is the summary for the day of 516 to 517 for the 24th to 25th of July for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. Do press the like button, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and if you are subscribed, you need to check if you are subscribed or not, because YouTube sometimes will just unsubscribe you, just to humble me, because they think that I'm too proud. I talk too much. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.